Hey, this is me building a $3 million per year business in public. The way I always do these videos is I start with some YouTube comment Q&A. That's just to give you guys some value right off the bat, and then also works as an engagement hack because the more comments I get on this channel, the better and faster it grows. Then I do some growth stats across my YouTube, then my Instagram, and then finally my products. We're finally doing some building in public. Today's just going to be some out loud brainstorming, but what I'm going to do next. So this is the main channel here in case you are coming across me for the first time. Then this is that daily updates channel where I answer questions. I just head over to the community tab, and then I just scroll down all the way to the bottom of the stack. So if you guys want me to answer one of your questions, whether it's about the AI agency model, or just business in general, I don't know, what I had for breakfast this morning, then feel free to leave it down below any one of the daily updates videos and I'll eventually get to it. As we can see here, I'm a little bit out. We're at 9 days. Used to be like a 6 to 7 day turnaround, but we received a massive influx of questions after the school games. I met Sam Ovens and Alex Ramosi, which I'll run you guys through later. For now, let's start answering these questions, and then maybe in 15 minutes or so, circle back and I can talk a little bit more about that. Okay, Collab Work 1910 says, I understand how to build AI automations, agents, or chatbots, but I'm struggling with how to properly deploy them for clients. I'm confused about things like who pays for the APIs and platforms used, whose email should be integrated, and whether the client runs the automation themselves or if we manage it on their behalf. I'd really appreciate it if you could make a video or a step-by-step guide explaining how to professionally deliver and deploy AI automations to clients. Thank you. All right, so you know what I'm going to do? Just because I get this question so often, I'm actually just going to screenshot this, head over to my daily updates, Lucid chart, paste this, and then I'm just going to try and answer all of these. That way, in the future, if somebody asks me this question, I'll have a resource that I could just point them to. So you understand how to build them step by step. I want you to know, first off, that's the most important part. You already have the knowledge on the building. Everything else here is just sort of like procedure, if that makes sense. In terms of the best way that I've found to do it, generally, let's answer each of these questions one by one. Who pays for the APIs and platforms used? So to answer that question, I'm going to say clients. And the reason why is it's kind of twofold. The first reason is because it removes liability from you, insofar that if you are building something for a client and I don't know, you're attaching a guarantee or something to it, or there's some protracted period of time in which they actually start to see the benefits of the system, or if you're doing some sort of split payment, 50% upfront, 50% on delivery, or maybe it's milestone based and tranched even further, you get 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. You know, the entire time that you are building the system, and you know, this is a technical sort of field, so sometimes systems can take a while to build. The entire time you're building the system, you're going to be paying for the software, right? What you're doing is you're adding an ongoing liability that also represents like a big chunk of risk, assuming that if for whatever reason the project doesn't end up going the way that you want it to go. So if you just get the client to pay for all this stuff, completely eliminates that as a problem. You just never have to worry about it. And this is what I always do. And I think previously I said there were two things. There's actually three. The second is you get to use affiliate links. So if the client pays for stuff, you now get to brand yourself as a Make.com partner, an N8N creator, you know, I don't know, a Google Workspace affiliate or something of that nature. And then sometimes there's bonuses where, you know, if you sign up for their partner programs, you'll get like a 10% discount to anybody that uses the link. In my case, I'm a Zapmail affiliate now, and I have 10% off anybody that wants to use my Zapmail code. So if you think about it that way, you know, what you can do is you can position yourself as better, you can position the quality of your relationship as stronger by giving them some sort of discount or benefit. And then, you know, you get to dip your toes in both pots, right? Like it's better for the client because they get some discount or benefit. And it's also better for you since you get a percentage of their ongoing monthly subscription. And this can actually end up being like 3 to 5% of your gross margin. You know, if you sign up to the sorts of platforms that I usually sell, which typically involve growth, the affiliate percentages are pretty big because, you know, these companies understand growth. So Instantly, for instance, pays 40%. 40% on a 97 or whatever dollar a month subscription is a lot. You know, you can upgrade to a 360% subscription. Like 40% of that is, oh geez, what was it again? $144 or something? I get $144 every month from somebody that is on that plan. I mean, that is insane leverage. Imagine if you get 10 people on that, you're now making $1,400 a month just in affiliate fees to one software platform. So this, you know, immediately adds 3 to 5% gross margins. And it's very rare that you'll ever be able to like get this easy and as quick a win in business as this. So, you know, you might as well take it, right? If your margins previously were, I don't know, 50%, you bump them up to 55%. I want to make this abundantly clear. You just made 10% more money. Your business is now 10% more powerful, right? Very, very few cases in life that you will ever get free money like that. So you should take advantage of it wherever possible. The third big reason is it minimizes handoffs because the client has their own environments, because it's theirs. What I mean by this is, if you instead are paying for all the platform, tooling, everything else, then when it comes time to end your relationship with a client for whatever reason, what are you guys going to do? Kind of at this fork in the road, right? There's kind of a couple different things that'll happen. One, a client won't really feel comfortable in letting you go in the first place because you kind of own their ass. You own tools that their business run off of. And I don't really think that that's a good situation to put anybody, let alone a client that, you're supposed to be thinking in the best interests of. So I'd consider this sort of a maladaptive dark pattern. And I'd have a lot of people be like, "Oh, Nick, isn't that what you want? You want a bunch of people whose asses you own, and that are never going to leave you because you run their software platforms, you're paying for everything, they have no idea how it works, they don't even have accounts on them." And I say, no, I don't really think that that's like the most sustainable way about it. I think that that might make you some short-term money, yeah, but I don't really think that that's going to go a long way towards maximizing the quality of the client relationship. And by the way, if you want extra points, just tell the client everything that I'm telling you right now. When they're like, "Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?" Like, this is why. Also, if you guys end up not working together down the line, so there were two reasons. One is no dark patterns, but the second one is if for whatever reason you guys stop working together down the line, then handoffs are easy. Because now, instead of you having to be like, "Hey, sure, let me make you a handoff document that goes into detail about all the systems that I've made, then let me manually move them over from my N8N workspace to your N8N workspace, one after the other, after the other, after the other, redo all the connections, reset up all the authentication, share all of the logins or whatever the hell I have to do, get your card instead of my card." Instead of you having to do this, it's already all good to go. You basically just record a little video and you say, "Hey, here's everything. Have a lovely rest of your life. Thank you very much." And, you're not going to work with clients forever, right? So this is a quick and easy way to solve a problem that you will have in the future. Okay, so I think initially I said there were 2 points. There are 3. I think there are even like some more, but I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. The second big thing is whose email should be integrated. So I get this a lot for people that have, let's say, like Google workspace stuff specifically. The reason why is because, if you want to, I don't know, get the client's username, password, email credentials, or whatever on Google Workspace, typically that involves a lot of like credential sharing and then two-factor authentication, which some clients just aren't comfortable with. Same thing with Outlook. And basically, anytime you have like a big multinational company like this, they usually have some sort of like crazy two-factor authentication, which is a pain in the ass. So if your client has a Google Workspace account and they want you to set up a system that, let's say, produces some asset or deliverable for their company, what you can do is you can have them just create you a quick and easy Google Workspace or Outlook account. And then you can use that as the email address for your automations. And by doing so, when you try and use that to, generate a deliverable or an asset, there's almost always a setting that enables you to share it with people at the domain. So let me give you an example. So this is you at theclientname.com, right? This client.com is the Google Workspace domain that they have, set up with TXT records and stuff like that. And, maybe it's like Nick at leftclick.ai or whatever. Well, when I use this as the, OAuth thing, the connection for the various automations I'm making, there's almost always a setting to share with other people, basically wildcard at client.com. And so they just get immediate access. So this works for any sort of like credential sharing not credential sharing, but asset sharing specifically. But if you guys wanted to go maybe a little bit deeper and then do something like an email autoresponder or something like that, then what I recommend, is you obviously, in order to do an email autoresponder, you need to respond to the person, like from the client's account or something like that asked you to build the system. So on a kickoff call, basically just deal with two-factor authentication right then and there, and tell them they need to give you their username, password, email, whatever information that you need. Log in when they're right there with you on the call, and then perform that connection. So let's say you're using N8N. You would actually perform that N8N connection. Then you would verify that you have that before you end the call. So you say something like, "Hey, Pete, thanks so much. Let me just log in and make sure that I have everything on my end. Oh, okay, it's asking you for a code. Do you mind giving that to me? Okay, it's 28. Fantastic. I'm just going to log in, double check, and then I'm also going to make an N8N connection. Within 30 seconds or so, you can have everything that you need in order to have this running." Same thing with Outlook. Same thing with like a lot of social media platforms as well. Facebook, Instagram, right? These big ones tend to work mostly off some sort of team-based account stuff. Okay, and then finally, whether the client runs the automation themselves or do we manage it on their behalf? That's a great question. So I think there are multiple ways you could do this, and it does depend on what you're selling. But generally speaking, I recommend containerizing everything. What I mean by this is most of the time, clients want to see your work as a black box where they put a little bit of money in and then they get a lot of money out. And so while this depends on the specific service that you are providing, for the most part, I like to abstract away all of the work for them. And all they have to do is that initial bit of work at the beginning of our relationship with a kickoff call. They have to sign up to the accounts. I walk them through it all, get them the affiliate discounts or codes or benefits or whatever. Then after that, I just do everything for them. And the only thing they see is the input coming into this containerized service and then the output coming out, which is usually just some sort of return on investment. So let me give you a quick example. Let's say you are doing some sort of lead gen, okay? So what does that mean? That means that they put in money on the front end. Maybe they pay me $2,195 a month. And then what they end up getting is they end up getting a bunch of booked meetings on their calendar. I do all of the maintenance. I handle all of the ongoing management, all of the ongoing work. And the only thing that they see is money goes in and then results come out. So I highly recommend containerizing most of your services, even if you're doing stuff like, I don't know, ongoing CRM management or something like that. You should involve the client, of course, but it should be more of like a, hey, I'm white glove servicing all of your needs and taking care of everything that you've asked me to. Just wanted to give you a quick update. No action needed on your end, XYZ. Now they feel like they're in the loop, but they also feel like they're getting a return on investment for the money that they're paying you because you're taking all of that work and stress and so on and so forth off of their hands, which is a benefit that I don't really believe gets talked about enough. Okay, so hopefully that answers more or less all of your questions. I guess the last piece there I'll leave you with is yesterday, the daily update that I dropped was called Stop Self-Hosting N8N. And this is just another variant or flavor of your question, but I wouldn't recommend making this a really big, super crazy deal. I would recommend moving in the direction of friction minimization, which tends to be just have the client set up everything on a kickoff call. Odds are you're not going to be able to do the self-hosting and stuff like that on a kickoff call. So just like sign up to them with cloud hosting, make, whether that's make.com, N8N, or some other no-code platform, and then just check that box and move on. Okay. All right. Usman says cold outreach SOB delivery upsell loop scalable system. Agreed. Sidepec says, if I set up the automations for the customer's accounts, how can I make sure I still receive the monthly installments and they don't just cancel the contract, continue using the system? Should I send them emails manually at the beginning, or rather, should I start paid campaigns? So how do you make sure you still receive the monthly installments and they don't just cancel the contract, continue using the system? This is a great question. You can't. The only way that you can, you can't fully stop them from doing that. And that was the entire point that I was trying to make to the person that asked me that question at the beginning. How do I deploy? The reality is you sort of have this like fork in the road where you can choose to operate with these dark patterns where you lock the customer and the client in and you gatekeep a certain amount of knowledge and you own their ass and own their systems completely. Or you can take what I would consider to be the higher road and then just make way more money doing it, where you just consistently and constantly deliver value and you uphold the obligations of your arrangement. If you're upholding the obligations of your arrangement, odds are you're generating a ton of value for the client. And if you're generating a ton of value for the client, which is savings and or revenue, they're not going to care about the money that they're spending on you because by default, you're generating a large return on investment. And in the edge cases that they do care, it's probably not the sort of client that you want to work with anyway. So some people are going to try and nickel and dime you, don't get me wrong. But I would say on net, probably less than 5% of people have. And if they do cancel the contract, continue using the system or whatnot, that just makes it easier for you to move on to the next, right? Okay, Derek says, I have a very beginner-like question. I'm 17, just found your channel and never done any type of business before. Okay, I think Derek actually had that question answered in a previous video. I think this was like 3 or 4 days ago, buddy. Yeah, I see you're answering or asking a ton of these. Nick, can you please make a full course on delivering the automation? Hopefully, this is your full course on delivering the automation. Jesus 2.0 cracked somebody up. That's funny. All right, let's answer one more from Tikas. Hey, Nick, hello from Africa. It's been a week now of getting used to N8N, and I started because I realized in the country that I live in, I could really leverage building and selling AI systems. But the issue is I don't know what to sell and how to sell any of it. Main issue is that I go blank because there's so many options and routes to go down with this automation field. And the only industry that always comes to mind is IT companies. Could you recommend any ideas for what automation I could do for IT companies and what automations to build and sell to them as a subscription? Would you give me like a guide to help me come up with what and how to sell these systems and how to build a business around it, while still considering the fact that I found this business model a week ago? Also, I use your videos to learn everything. Your maker school price for my country has a crazy conversion rate, LOL. I can totally understand that as well. Also, I don't know if school is still like completely blocked in Nigeria, but I remember it used to be. I don't know if you're from Africa that you are. That's worth considering as well. If you guys keep on getting redirected or whatever and you're from Nigeria, that's why. They've just carpet banned. They've carpet bombed, basically. Connections coming from that country just because they had like much higher spam rates or something like that. I think they were actually losing money. Anyway, yeah, I can walk you through this, I think, at a bird's eye level. I don't want to just give you a whole business model at the palm of my hand because the reality is if I do that and then you copy it, it's very much just like give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. So my hope is we're going to talk more about the higher level strategies and then the actual tactical implementations of them are going to come from you. But yeah, so could you recommend ideas on what automation I could do for IT companies and what automations to build and sell to them as a subscription? So the first thing I think to realize, and maybe I'll take a screenshot of this as well, just because I'm really liking the vibe. Makes it really nice and visual. I guess the first thing to realize is that like IT companies are sort of like underneath an umbrella, and that umbrella is just like service businesses. So service businesses are not the only types of businesses out there. They're different from, let's say, like software businesses, which are different from, I don't know, let's say info products, which are different from, I don't know, let's just say like e-commerce, which is different from, I don't know, like manufacturing or natural resource extraction or whatever. But this is very much under the umbrella of service businesses, okay? And what that means is, IT businesses follow the exact same funnel as, let's say, a marketing business, which follows the exact same funnel as, I don't know, like an HVAC business, which follows the exact same funnel as more or less any other sort of business that you can think of. Hell, even like a dental business or whatever. So in terms of like how to approach building systems for IT businesses, well, the cool thing is you don't just have to think about like building automations for IT businesses. You can think about building automations for any one of these businesses and then just like copying and pasting, or maybe not copying and pasting, but at least being heavily inspired by the same ones that you see in a bunch of these other industries. Just because, IT business is a very specific sort of niche within the service business umbrella. But HVAC, marketing, dental, hopefully you're seeing that these sorts of companies have been talked about for a really long time. And there's a lot of examples of systems that can improve the way that these businesses work. So number one is you get a lot of inspiration from like adjacent niches, if that makes sense. And, problems that work for marketing are going to work for IT. Problems that work for dental and HVAC, they're going to work for IT. The reason why is because service businesses basically all look like this from a bird's eye view. You have some sort of lead gen, okay? And you get the leads through whatever way you want. You could do like cold email. You could do maybe like PPC ads. You could do SEO. You could do referrals. And then there's like 50 other ways. And basically all of these collectively, let's just say how all service businesses work. All of these funnel directly into some sort of sales event, okay? So this is going to be, let's say, a sales call. Now, this is going to be called something different depending on the niche that you're in. If you're doing some sort of HVAC thing, this will probably be called a quote. Call in for a quote. If you're doing some sort of, I don't know, like landscaping thing, same thing. If you're doing, let's say some sort of marketing business, that might be, like a discovery call. If you're doing some sort of like IT business or something, they might brand this as a discovery. They might also brand this as like a scoping call or something like that. But I guess the point is that, all service businesses look like so. You have some lead gen layer, then you have some sales layer. Underneath the sales layer, you have some conversion mechanism. The conversion mechanism is going to differ based off the specific type of business, but it's still a conversion mechanism. So maybe, an IT business in this case might do so using some sort of proposal signed. And, when I say proposal, I mean also like agreement and invoice. I typically bundle all these together. If you don't bundle them together, you have to do them one after another. So proposal first, then invoice, proposal first, then agreement, then invoice. That's just a massive pain in the ass. So just combine them all together and then you're done. After the conversion mechanism, you have some sort of onboarding. So this is where maybe, the company learns a little bit more about who you are and how they can fulfill your needs and stuff like that. They invite you onto their channels. They, swing by your house and take a quick look or whatever it is across these different sub niches inside of service businesses. This is where you have, some sort of like kickoff call, let's say, for an IT. Then after the kickoff call, you actually have the service fulfillment, which is where you deliver on the obligations that you made to them during the lead gen, sales, conversion mechanism, and then onboarding phases. So in your case, maybe it's, building IT systems. Then finally, ideally, you also have some sort of like retention mechanism. What's the retention mechanism? Well, for IT, it's usually some sort of like ongoing management. And so, you'll have some ongoing IT management where the firm just deals with everything. It's like a managed service. They install the systems, they maintain them for you, you pay a certain flat amount. Okay. This is typically referred to as the front end of a service business. And then this over here is referred to as the back end of a service business, also known as growth. This is what I deal with over here. And then, the back end, it's also called fulfillment, although it's just one of the steps involved. I don't know. You can kind of think of it as like the technical, like the deliverable. Let's put it that way. Okay. So I think if you look at it from this perspective, you quickly realize that the same systems that I've been talking about that work for any other business also work for any sort of IT business as well. Because think about it. There's systems out there that improve your ability to do lead gen. If you're doing cold email, well, I don't know, if you're doing some sort of outbound, you can sell them a cold email system. If you're doing some sort of PPC, you could sell them some sort of speed to lead system. If you're doing SEO, you could sell them some sort of content system. If you're doing referrals, you could sell them some sort of like automated referral thing, automated follow-up, automated reactivation. Sales calls, right? You could sell them some sort of proposal generator. You could sell them some sort of other asset generator. You could do sales admins. You could sell them a CRM, right? Same thing with this. Automated proposal generator, automated agreement, automated payments, automated follow-up payments, automated upsells, whatever the heck you want. How about for the kickoff call? Well, maybe when the proposal is signed, you catch a webhook or something that sends over a request with a calendar link to the proposal, to the kickoff call from your proposal sign, and then gets them on a call. On the call, you have some sort of AI transcript that takes their needs, creates a project brief, has them sign off on it, and then when you're good to go, then you guys move forward to the actual rest of the system. Then what do the IT systems look like? Well, maybe here you create a big library of different system templates that you guys have that you guys prescribe based off of the needs evaluation that you've done before this. And then it's like a simple one-click implementation. Or maybe you set up a bunch of N8N or make.com workflows that just automatically template out a bunch of stuff, right? So hopefully what I'm saying here makes sense. But yeah, this is the bird's eye perspective that I would take. And I would just take it to IT, but I take it to all service businesses. Once you know one, you typically know all. All right, I think we only managed to do 3 or 4 today, but I think that these were probably some of the best explanations I've provided on the topic. So let's just do some brand stats and then we can wrap it up. So brand stats is just a big Google sheet I have that shows tracked data across the main YouTube, the Instagram, and then the daily updates channel for the better part of the last, what's this now, 5 months. I should note that I haven't done any since I went to Los Angeles, just because of the school games, and because one of these I was in a Waymo, another one I was rushing out my hotel door to catch my flight, another one was super late or something before I had my big day. So I'm going to kick things up today, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extrapolate the data using a little bit of math for previous ones. So let's head over here to the main channel. This is 163,186. I'm going to copy this over here. As we can see, we've really grown pretty explosively over the course of the last few days. I guess in the last 4 days, that's what, almost 3,000, which is about 800 a day. Let's now go to the Instagram as well. I use a service called Blast Up, just pump in the name here, and then it returns me the count. So let's copy this over, paste it in. And then finally, let's do this daily updates channel, which I know for a fact has grown pretty explosively over the last little bit. If I look at subscriber growth here, I had a big spike, 186, and then it's been 80, 90, which is pretty sweet. So we'll paste that in, 9,412. Okay, and so now what I have to do is I basically just have to do some math, I guess. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to take the difference between A173, B173, subtract it out by B169. Then I'm going to divide that by, is this 4 or 3? I think it's 3. Now what I also have to do is I have to fix these, right? Because if I add this up, then I get 897 times 3, which is 2691. If I add 2691 to 16495, I think I get this number, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So now what I can do is, sorry, I shouldn't have done that with the B. I can take this and just do the same thing here. I can do the same thing here. Wow, this is explosive growth. We're looking at 2,802 every single day. Oh, sorry. I'm realizing now that I did this a little wrong. So we're actually going to pump this in over here. There you go. And then this is going to be B169 plus C170. Okay, hold on a second here. I think I'm going to have to divide that by 4. That's probably where I'm at. Okay, yeah, this makes more sense. So let's do that. And then instead of the $B, we'll just go B. Okay, cool. We should also be able to do this, I believe. Awesome. And now I should also be able to do this and then that. Cool. Yeah, this looks pretty good to me. So what are we seeing here? As the channel continues to grow, obviously additional improvements reduce because I'm looking at proportional improvements percentage-wise. That's just really important to me. I wasn't expecting this precipitous decline. Back over here, I was hitting consistent like 0.8% days. And I did some extrapolations based off that. We've been not nosediving, but obviously getting a lot more stable recently. Like, check this out. We basically gone from these, wild fluctuations around some number, which is maybe like 0.7 or something. Where some days I was at 0.4, other days I was at like 1.1, other days I was at like 0.2, whatever. Some days I had 3%, which is just bonkers, right? And we've gotten extraordinarily stable around 0.4 to maybe 0.5. So let's just presume that we continue to grow at the rate of 0.41 for now. You can model this by going 1.0041 raised to the number of days that you grow. So if I grow 30 days, I think this is rounding. So I'm going to go over here and then multiply that by the sub count, 163,186. Projected growth in 30 days is 180. Projected growth in 40 days is 190. And then in 50 days, it's a little over 200. So I think 50 days is what I'm shooting. So 50 days from now is Wednesday, September the 10th, meaning I should be somewhere around 200K somewhere by September the 10th, assuming, of course, that I don't do something really cool and grow really fast because I release a viral video or whatnot, or the inverse happens. I don't just fall off the face of the earth. Okay, so those are just some thoughts on growth trajectory, where things are at. Published a really cool video just the other day on the main channel. That was $1 million AI automation and agents advice for 5 hours straight. This one's performing like crazy. I think the packaging and the thumbnail had a lot to do with that. We did see a decrease in the slope of this, but that slope decrease was almost exactly 24 hours after. So I'm wondering if maybe this is just like a built-in thing that happens. I don't know for sure. I'm trying to like figure out how the algorithm works. Unfortunately, most of this is going to be browse feature based, not search based. So the probability that we're going to have like long tail search on this, pretty low. It's almost overwhelmingly going to be like viral. But I think that's just how we packaged it, right? Agents in giant bold terms, me in some cool flashy jacket next to like a bunch of robots. Just kind of how it works. Anywho, that's that for today. Appreciate your time. I'll see y'all tomorrow.